Putin and the felon meeting in Alaska. Is Putin going to tell the felon who's really in charge? Epstein brings down the entire Trump empire. More women sue the felon and the felon's estate. Ghislaine Maxwell testifies against the felon. And Ivanka knows quite a bit about this story. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel, to all the new subscribers. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos, promoting the channel on your own social media platforms. Huge, huge thank you. If you've given money through the super thanks, buy me a coffee or Venmo, a huge, huge thank you. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated. Okay, so Putin and the felon are meeting in Alaska. When I was scrying on this, it became pretty clear that this meeting is so that it won't be over the phone. And so Putin can kind of threaten the felon with more of the blackmail that he has. Of course, this reading is for entertainment purposes only. It's a tarot reading. I could be right, I could be wrong. But it appeared that this meeting is at Putin's bequest, not at the felon's. Um, and I think we'll get verification that this is actually what happens when the felon starts talking bad about Zelensky again. So we shall see. Also, when I was scrying, I could see lawsuit after lawsuit coming forward against the felon and the felon's estate because the felon won't be with us that much longer. And more women are going to come forward with their stories to tell about their interactions with the felon that were completely inappropriate. Ghislaine Maxwell, I see testifying against the felon after the felon's death. And I think Ivanka knows quite a bit of this story and she's not saying anything. But I do think this is why she's partly being quiet. So let's look into all of that. Let's start with I guess the Epstein stuff, and then we'll move into the Putin Trump Alaska meeting, the Putin felon Alaska meeting. So let's first just ask this: Ivanka know? Does Ivanka know some details about the felon's interactions with Epstein and inappropriate behavior? Does Ivanka already know some of this stuff? I feel like Ivanka is going to know a couple of the women that come forward. I don't know why it's a feeling. I didn't see any images. It's just a feeling that when they come forward, we're going to find out that they had interactions with Ivanka when she was young. So does Ivanka know more about this story? Let's just ask it like this. What does Ivanka know about this story involving Epstein and all the allegations that are swirling around? Does Ivanka know about this? See the Five of Pentacles in the scrying bowl. It's about financial loss, but just about loss. I don't think she particularly likes her father. And I think she just sees him as a conduit for money. And I don't think she's all that confident that there's as much money as he says there is. Something new. There's some sort of new revelation that came to her with the Fool card here. Maybe it was the way that he acted around not releasing the Epstein files that got her attention peaked. Maybe it's the weird interactions with Ghislaine Maxwell. There's something new that has her thinking about these things. You get the Empress card. Could be just the mother instinct in her, which I don't think is very strong, but could be where the your spidey senses go up and go, this doesn't make any sense. Maybe recalling some incidences when she was a kid that at the time didn't have much meaning but have meaning now. is what it kind of feels like. Circles of support and celebration. Like I said, I think this involves a couple people that she knows. I really do. I don't know that they were close friends. They're not close friends now, but they could have been reasonably good acquaintances back when she was younger. Um, she can't handle it. She has to step away. She can't handle any of this talk because it's just a little too real. The Eight of Pentacles here, the Apprentice card. I think she might even feel some guilt around um, perhaps bringing people into that circle unknowingly. Of course, I don't think she's guilty of anything on that level at all. Um, yeah, she's, watching the news stories, they don't make sense. She can't quite keep up with it. She's like reliving all these moments in her past is what it feels like there's like normally they would be kind of innocent little interactions, but now they seem far less innocent because of the way the felon and his administration is handling Epstein and Maxwell. The Four of Wands, she's remembering parties, celebrations that she was at. So she's very burdened by this. This is, I think she's probably the sanest of all of the older three kids. The two younger ones I don't talk about because they're not really public figures. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she talks to the Democrats if the Democrats hold investigations. Of course, it'll be under subpoena, not by choice. Um, yeah, this whole thing has sparked like a new remembering of things. She feels a little bit of guilt, like she was like the apprentice in the situation. I do think we'll see her testify in front of a democratically controlled House or Senate at some point, or at least a committee. Of course, that won't be until the next election. She's remembering parties again, feeling like she was kind of a pawn in this, and I think it involves people that she knew at the time fairly well. I don't think they were like great friends or anything. I think her spidey senses are up. I think that's why the Empress is here, that motherly nature. I don't think she can particularly handle this very well. I think she's probably keeping a lot of this to herself and just bearing all the burdens of the Ten of Wands. And it's hard to keep up with everything that she's remembering and put it into context and stuff. So I think that's what's going on. I think she'll be very defensive at the beginning, but then I think eventually there's money that's going to be paid out through the estate to various people. I've always seen that. I've always talked about it. Um, but I think she'll also give information as well. Okay. So, um, are more women going to come forward and sue the felon or the felon's estate? I always felt like there's a delay in their inheritance to settle a bunch of these lawsuits. Some of them might not even be terribly public at this point. Of course, he owes money to E. Jean Carroll in the state of New York. Where am I going to come from? I've always seen one in particular, and I feel like it's not too far off that comes forward. I think the treatment of um, Virginia Giuffre has really disturbed a lot of the victims. The way he talked about her. More women gonna come forward. Yes. And continue to come forward. I think this is going to be an ongoing saga. I think there's a group that gets together um, and uses one legal team to file a suit against him. I think their stories will be consistent with everything that we think has happened. Uh, so it's as bad or worse than what you can probably think. I do think that this ends with um, the felon paying out, or the felon's estate most likely paying out. I don't think he'll be around for this, and I think that's why there's not as much of a fight against these lawsuits. I think they're somewhat contested in the beginning, but later I think they're just settled. Um, yeah, it's after he's gone. Um, it just is. There's just not the time frame's not there for it to happen before that, which is unfortunate. But death and being in the environment around like it has been for the last several months, it just kind of confirmation that we're on the right track of what's going to happen. Yeah, money being paid out, the Page of Pentacles, and messages coming forward, stories being told that are fiery and disturbing, and we're going to hear about it all. It's all going to come to the surface here with the Moon card. Um, Unfortunately, it's not before death gets here, but it's going to challenge their economic stability, and they're going to try to limit the damage. I think there's like a lot of settlements here in the future, like 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road, because I think these stories keep coming out and they keep getting verified. Um, no, maybe not 10 years, but a decent time frame out. So the people accusing will be supporting each other. I think they might share legal counsel. They're seeking money. I think the family will try to limit the damages by settling a lot of this stuff. But they want their stories to come out, so money's only part of it, but it does lead to great loss to the estate. And the stories will be consistent with what we think is going on today. It'll challenge the financial security of the estate. The stories will be very disturbing, but unfortunately, they come after death. That's just the way it is, uh, which is unfortunate. Okay, what's underneath here? Yeah, financial stability. Uh, you know, they're going to try to blame some of this on memory loss and dementia, but it's not going to make any sense. And I think they finally just kind of give up and they're like, okay, um, we've got to pay money out with the Knight of Pentacles there. Okay, so more women do come forward. I feel pretty confident about that one. Again, for entertainment purposes only. Um, so does Ghislaine Maxwell actually testify on behalf of some of these victims? I think they're going to release stuff saying that she doesn't know anything about the felon's involvement. That's just not true. She definitely cannot be trusted. Um, she did sue to keep the grand jury testimony under seal, which that's always was going to happen anyhow. Does she end up testifying against him? I feel like she does. Like, especially if he pardons her or commutes her sentence, then there's a really good argument that she has immunity, and therefore she would be forced to testify. Um, like she couldn't take the Fifth Amendment, for example, if you have immunity or you don't face any prosecution. Does she testify against him? Yeah, I really think she does. Um, I don't know that her testimony is the most damning of all the testimony we'll hear, but I think it sets the timelines up. Yeah, it's after he passes the Ten of Pentacles. It's her inheritance. I did a reading on her past life, by the way, on the other channel. If you're interested in that, I'll link that in the description. And the Ten of Pentacles kept popping up then too, in a different manner. Um, so did the Four of Swords. She's not very believable because she's quite ill, and I think that's how people view her. Um, but she knows about these interactions of a sordid nature, let's put it that way. Uh, he's got a lot of anxiety that she's going to tell the full story. I think she is going to need convincing. That's why I think she needs immunity or something along those lines if she doesn't get it. I don't think he pardons her, by the way. That's always been what I've thought, but um, it's possible. Uh, Ultimately, this does bring about a bit of karmic justice, kind of finishes the job after he's gone. I think we might actually hear the truth too about what she thinks happened to Jeffrey Epstein, the hanged man here. The hanged man kept coming up in really weird positions when I read on him and Anthony Bourdain and I forget the French model agency guy who died the same way in prison. Um, Brunel. Yeah, I think she's willing to tell the story to be the spy in the camp, so to speak, provided she's got some immunity. Uh, and this kind of ends the cycle of burden. So, it's after he's gone, she's not going to have much money anyhow, because she's going to face lawsuits as well of a civil nature. Um, she'll do it under certain circumstances to relieve some burdens or guilt. Um, I think she might hypothesize about what happened to Epstein. I don't know that that'll ever be proven, by the way. And again, she has a lot to tell about these sordid, inappropriate, um, I don't want to use the word relationship. I can't think of anything else. Interaction. Uh, she's quite sick in the head. Uh, he's very anxious she'll do it and that she'll be the spy in the camp. And he knows if she does that this will be, kind of the end of him. What he doesn't, um, I think he knows that his time isn't long, so I don't think he's just worried about his reputation. There'll be a lot of legal battles over whether she has immunity or not, but her story will be consistent with everybody else's, and everything will just kind of really all the timelines, everything fit together, and it becomes really clear what happened. Okay, so one more Epstein question, and then we'll move to Putin and the felon's Alaska rendezvous. Um, Epstein bring down the Trump estate? Do the Trump kids end up with fractions of what they will start with? Is that what happens? Does Epstein bring down the Trump estate or the Trump empire? Is I guess the way I want to phrase it. Meaning that Don Jr. and Eric and Ivanka really can't have the prominence that they had. Does Epstein bring down this empire? Yeah, I mean, I keep getting the Five of Pentacles. It's popped up a couple times already in the Scrying Bowl. I just think that this is just um, what's going on here. It's unfortunate that it's going to be after he's gone, but yeah, everything's going to come out about all the trafficking. It's going to come out. I don't know exactly what the felon's role was in that, but there was a role. That's all I know. Or it's for entertainment purposes only, and I could be wrong. Not shocked that the Empress is here either. Um, I think this isn't disjointed from the fact that we're going to read on Putin next. The Empress card's my card for Russia sometimes. I think Putin knows as well. And we get the Lover's card, this, bad choices being made, inappropriate choices. Um, all these people coming forward will get parts of the estate. Yeah, I think, you know, you reap what you sow, the Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, messages coming forward about money. I think, they'll try to keep everything quiet, NDAs, all these things that the National Enquirer kind of tricks. But I think there's some people that just want to really tell their story. The money isn't that important to them. Uh, yeah, I mean, it takes down the empire. There's, um, I don't think we'll even have, they won't own as much, that's for sure. Different avenues for them. I mean, they won't be broke, unfortunately. They'll still be living great lives, but the Fool card, it'll be a new reality for them. With the Fool, yeah, it's going to infect their inheritance, the Ten of Pentacles, and all this stuff coming to the surface, and and the volatility of it all. That's why they're going to try to keep it quiet. I mean, that is five major arcanas here, and all four of the corners are major arcanas, which tells me there's just a ton of movement towards this. So the trafficking will come out. It'll be tried to, or the information about trafficking is there. It'll try to be stopped by money coming out, but by settlements, NDAs, that kind of stuff. But it's still going to come to the surface anyhow. So this is a new idea to them to just settle lawsuits, but they're going to do it because the information that comes out is really damning. It's going to come out whether they try to keep it under wraps or not. They don't realize that in the beginning because I think Putin knows about it as well. And you reap what you sow, and it'll be a different beginning for them after this all happens, and it definitely affects their inheritance. So yeah, I don't think things will be quite the same. There'll be a lot of empathy for the victims. Their messages will be well heard. And meanwhile, I think it'll leave a lot of people feeling very sick that they supported the felon. And I think we'll also get more information about just how ill he is. Okay. All right. So, what about this rendezvous? What do we need to know about this rendezvous in Alaska? Putin meeting Trump in Alaska, it's kind of disturbing. But, at this point, between Netanyahu and Putin, I don't know. Having either one of them on US soil is disturbing to me, but okay. So I do think that they haven't announced where it's at. They just said Alaska. Um, I think Alaskans will kind of know that there's only a few airports that can handle those big planes. And I would think that they wouldn't let Putin land at a military base, but it is the felon. So what do we need to know about this? I feel like this is just, Putin released naked photos of Melania. I think he holds a lot of Epstein information. I think he's been leaking it through various channels here in the US to reporters. I think the felon suspects this. I had a reading on that a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's the Page of Swords in the scramble. I think it's a big betrayal. Like I think the felon thought he had an agreement, but I mean, that just shows how crazy he is, because anybody that thinks they can make a deal with Putin is a little bit crazy. The whole world is going to be watching this with very interesting eyes here, particular the European countries. Putin has said crazy things like, oh, if I just get Eastern Ukraine, I'll think about stopping the war. Of course, that's not acceptable. Europe's not going to go along with Ukraine being split up. Ukraine's not going to go along with that either. And Russia's in no position really to even try to negotiate. Like, it's just the whole thing's kind of crazy. Um, the felon's going to be on the defense here. So he's not thinking about the world situation. He's thinking about his own situation. That's what this is about. Not surprising. We get the Tower card. We're going to find out about it eventually. I don't think that's anytime soon. I don't think it's even until, Democrats really start investigating this situation that we find out what's going on. There's going to be a lot of mad people in Alaska. I think if they do figure out where it'll be, there'll be protests. Might be protests anyhow. I think there are going to be protests around the world. Particularly, well, there's going to be protests over Gaza and that whole atrocity. But there's also going to be protests about having Putin on US soil in the United States. Bombshells and surprises at the center of the reading. It's taken even Republicans by surprise. They're defending it. But at some point, they're not going to be able to keep their head above water anymore. They're just not. So, people are turning away quickly. Here's the felon in his own reading, the King of Pentacles. And the Six of Cups. I mean, it's about young people. It's about the Epstein stuff. That's really what's going on here. They're not negotiating any Ukraine stuff. They might talk about it, but that's not what's going on here. The felon might try to give Ukraine away to save his own behind, but Europe's not going to go for that. So he can't really do that either. And of course, Ukraine's not going to go for it. And I think Europe already has a plan of moving ahead without the felon. So the Queen of Pentacles, I think this is Putin saying, I have the upper hand here. And then the Six of Pentacles, giving and receiving of information, repayments of loans and debts. I think that's the felon agreeing to do something. I think we'll hear something bad. I think we'll hear the felon say something bad about Zelensky in the next few weeks. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen. I mean, after the meeting happens, the meeting's not going to happen for another week. So after that, give it 2 weeks, he'll be talking bad about Zelensky again. The world is watching. Republicans are trying to keep their head above water, so they're defending this. But ultimately, it's about keeping the blackmail under wraps. It has to do with Epstein stuff. That's going to be the big revelation. It's going to be part of the stuff that brings down the empire, the Trump empire. That's why I pieced these together, is I could see how they all kind of relate. The felon knows that Putin's got the upper hand, so he's quite defensive, but messages are going to come out regardless. So let's see what's underneath here. Yeah. This happens before we find out everything else. So, I mean, death. Death is coming. Then we go to the courts with the Hierophant. This is where everything's revealed, and this is where the victims win. And there's a different type of leadership in town when this all happens, probably Democrats. All right. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.